Hey guys, and welcome to Tutorial Grid. Now on this tutorial we will be focusing on the Star Trek Into Darkness title sequence, which I thought was pretty cool because it's done some stuff that I haven't seen in a while. But first off, make sure to go over to facebook.com and check us out at Avid Productions 479, facebook.com/Avid Productions 479. Like us there. We have quite a few things going on. Also, check us out on Tutorial Grid website at facebook.com/tutorialgrid, and make sure to subscribe to our YouTube. So subscribe to us and get all the new cool updates. All right, so to do this tutorial, you'll need a couple things. You're going to need a cool background layer that you would like, as well as you will need a text layer that you would like, something that has some texture on top of it. That way it will kind of mesh in. But just to show you what it kind of looks like, this is what it looks like. You have something cool here, got some cool stuff going on. This is mostly what we're going to be looking at, but you got some cool stuff going on. You've got this text coming in, the text layers coming in, and there's actually an animated background that's going with the camera. But also in this first part of it, we've got the text that kind of appears in 3D and looks pretty cool. But coming soon. I'm not really doing something. This is just the tutorial. Let's go ahead and dive right into this. So first, you're going to have a background layer, and you're going to have a texture. So let's go ahead and dive in. So we're going to go to composition, new composition, 1920 by 1080, 23.976 frame rate, and hit OK. All right, we are going to go ahead and drag down one of our images. We're going to drag down our background image first. We're going to set this to 3D. We're going to check 3D, and we're going to push this into the background as much as we can, because this is where we're going to start out. So about right there, because we don't want the background to move around that much. And then we're going to go to Tint. We're going to type in Tint in our effects and presets. So Tint, and tint this up. So go ahead and drag this down on top of our layer. And we're going to tint it to this kind of greenish look, kind of turquoise green kind of look. Now you're probably wondering why. You know why. Okay, and we're also going to do amount to tint, and we're probably going to put this down to about 48. And then we're also going to hit T on our background layer, and we're going to push this down to about 37. Looks pretty good. All right, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take a mask layer, and we're going to create a mask right on top, right here in the center, an oval. And then we're also going to create another oval mask right down below, maybe a little bit smaller. And make sure these match up. We'll double click on our mask and kind of put it towards the center. If you want to help center this up, you can click down here where it says Title Action Safe. It's this button right here, Title Action Safe, and you can see exactly where center is. Go ahead and center that up there. And center the first mask up as well. Okay, now we're going to hit F on our mask, and we're going to feather it out a bit. So we're going to feather it out so it just kind of looks like it's barely showing. Okay, and we'll get out of that. And then we'll also do the same thing to our other one. So at the mask feather is at 538. I'm going to also do 538 on this mask as well. All right, now we've got this kind of cool looking background image. We're going to go ahead and jump right into the text. So under text, let's type in whatever your movie title is, or you can do, tutorial grid. Blam. Now the font that I'm using is American Captain because it was the closest one I could find to the Into Darkness font, but you can use whatever you want. But let's go ahead and size this up, not too big, and center this about right there. So now we have tutorial grid. I don't want tutorial. Tutorial grid. That looks better. That looks a lot better because it's the right word. Okay, now what we're going to do is going to go back into our project and we're going to drag down cracks. I'm going to put that underneath the tutorial grid. Now this looks awful. First thing we're going to do is we're going to go to track matte, click down our little down arrow. I'm going to do Luma matte tutorial grid. That's going to put that right on top of that. Now you can kind of move our track matte around to where you get, you know, some cool looking cracks. I kind of like it like this. Looks pretty good. Tutorial grid. All right. Now we're also going to hit P on our cracks layer and we're going to check our 3D box because we want it to be 3D. And we're just going to kind of move it back just a little bit because we want this to have a little bit of 3D depth, because whenever we use our camera, it's going to react with our camera to where you can see it kind of moving in space. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to select ramp, type in ramp in effects and presets and put that on top of the cracks layer. And we are going to change the ramp. We're going to change our black to this turquoise-ish color. Okay. And then change our black or white to black because I'm lazy. Okay, now we're going to move up our black layer. I did that completely wrong. Oh well. Let's fix this because I did that wrong. So let's change that back to this green layer on the bottom. And we'll do white on the top. We'll do white. That's what we wanted. White. Okay. Now that we have this, we're going to go blend with original and we're going to blend this in a little bit. So it gives it this kind of eerie looking whiteness. Go ahead and move this up because this white is going to give it the original color of what it used to be. And this other color is going to kind of blend with this black, but we're going to fix that. And how we're going to fix it? With levels. So we'll type in levels in our effects and presets and drag that on over. And we're going to mess with the deep black setting. So we're going to crush the black here. That way it gets that true black on there, as well as it's going to keep some of these green tones. And we're going to kind of move our green up just a tad. So we're going to move our midtones up. And then we're going to move our highs up. And move those greens back down just a bit. Okay. Now we've got this tutorial grid. We have our title. Let's go ahead and add our camera. Let's go to Layer, New, Camera, and hit OK. Also, you're going to, under your text layer, select this as 3D. And now, whenever you mess with your camera, you can zoom this in, and your text zooms in, but that background zooms in a little bit as well, and you can kind of see it moving just a bit. So let's go ahead and see what this looks like. To animate our camera, we're going to select P on our camera and hit our stopwatch, and we'll select up to, I want to make this 5-second animation, and I'm going to zoom it in to about right here. So this way So now you can kind of see this animate, and it looks pretty cool. You've got it coming in, and you've got your background moving a little bit with the text. Cool. I like it. One thing you want to make sure is whenever you make this layer 3D, is you want to make sure it's big enough to work with your composition. So I'm going to go ahead and select this and make it a lot bigger. And then I'm going to select this and duplicate it, hit M, and I'm going to delete my masks off here. I'm going to see how this looks. And then select T. Just turn this down quite a bit. And then I'm going to put this layer underneath. That way you still have this kind of eerie looking stuff. And then whenever we add the next thing, which is going to be a optical flare, so go to Layer, New, Solid. Make sure it's black. We're going to type in flares in our effects presets, and we're going to move over our optical flares layer and hit options. And the one that I like the most is under motion graphics, cool flares. Now this is mainly going to be in this kind of area right here. I'm not sure if I like this little ball of light here, but we're going to keep going with it. You can delete it if you want, but you don't have to if you don't want to. We're going into editor, change the color to this greenish looking turquoise color, and select OK, and hit OK here. And we're going to change our mode to add. We're going to pull that over here right on the other side. So we're going to put it onto the right hand side. We're going to put it about right here. So we'll go ahead and move to our first frame, and we're going to go position. We're also going to change the brightness a little bit, but let's go ahead and animate our position. So go to there, the first frame, and go to our end frame here. And we're going to just move it down just a bit. That way it animates this position here. You can kind of see it moving as it's doing its thing. Now, one thing that I like to add to my flare is go to options again and go to lens objects, custom. And they've got this cool lens orb pack. And click on it, and then click on editor and go to scale. And turn that down. Just turn that down to a scale that you like. I mean, you can turn it all the way up if you want to. If you want to make it look really kind of blurry and out of focus. But you can turn it down to kind of this small little speckly kind of look, which I think looks a lot better. And change the color again to this greener kind of color. And hit OK. That just kind of gives you a little bit more oomph to your project. But this is looking pretty cool, and that is how you make the Into Darkness kind of titles. Isn't that cool? Now, aren't you glad you now know how to do this? Now there's one other thing I'd like to show you, and that is adding the name. So if you wanted to put Star Trek, or if you wanted to put your name or your movie title, what you're going to want to do is go here to text and type in whatever you want to type in. I'm going to put Cherokee Turner because that is my name. Look me up and add me on Facebook if you want. Or like us on Facebook at Avid Productions. Facebook.com/AvidProductions479. Okay, there was a quick little plug. But go ahead and move your text layer all the way down to the bottom. That way it is hidden. And let's go ahead and uncheck that. And then go to Layer, New, Solid, hit OK. and type in element, and it should pop up, and pull that right on top. Then go to custom layers, custom text and masks, and then hit path layer 1 to your text layer, and then hit scene setup. Now that we're in scene setup, you're going to hit extrude, and now we have our text. Now mine looks a little janky. You can do whatever you will with it, but I'll show you what I'm going to do with it. I don't like having a bevel curve, so I'm going to put that down to 0. I'm also not going to extrude it so much because I don't want it to be thick text. I want it to be legible. And I'm also going to do the expand edges. I'm going to turn that down quite a bit. That way it's not just absolutely crazy in your face. And I'm also going to bevel backside because I think that looks way more professional than having just a standard cutout. But that looks pretty good. Now I'm going to go into I'm going to go ahead and shade it, and I want that metallic look. So I'm going to bring on either this cool brushed metal, maybe this one. That one not so much. Maybe gold. No. Yeah, let's do this. This looks cool. I like that. And we'll hit OK. So once you're finished, hit OK. Then you're going to go ahead and hit that little down arrow, pull that back, go to group 1, particle replicator, pull down that arrow, and then we're also going to pull down the arrow for particle look. Now we're going to change the position of the X and Y. We're going to pull this up. So hit X and Y, and the second one under 540, just pull that up. So bring that down and pull that up right on top of your text layer here. And that's going to be already centered right on top. So that's looking pretty good. And we are also going to move our text layer. Well, we're going to move up in the timeline to about 2 seconds. And we are going to hit multi-object, hit enable. That's going to pull out these parameters here, and we're going to change the rotation of the Y. So we're going to hit check mark, and we're going to bring this to 90 degrees. Bring that up to 90. And then we're going to go to 3 seconds, and we're going to pull this down to 0. So it's going to reveal. Now we're also going to change the opacity. So on this layer, you can do it either directly in the layer or you can do it in the effect. I like doing it in the effect, that way I can use my layer parameters later, even though I'm probably not going to use the layer parameters later in this one. But I'm going to go ahead and hit the stopwatch under force opacity. I'm going to turn that all the way down to 0. I'm going to go to about halfway through the animation, and I'm going to turn it up to 100. So that kind of looks like this. It's going right along with that camera. Looking pretty good. Another thing you can do is go down to, let's go ahead and get a frame that looks pretty good. We'll go down to render settings. We'll go to lighting. We'll uncheck use comp lights, and we're going to add lighting and aqua. And then we are going to go to additional lighting and then rotation. And we're going to move this around a little bit to where kind of get a little bit of color in here. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Also, another thing on the keyframes, if you hit F9, for some reason my F9 is not working, but you can go there and you can go to keyframe assistance and easy ease. It'll make this animation look a lot smoother. Easy ease. And let's go here and we'll change these two to easy ease as well. All right, but now we have our optical flare. We've got our tutorial grid. We've got our cool looking title. We've got our masks going. We've got our background and everything's looking pretty good. And now we have our 3D text. That is pretty much just about it. There is only one thing you can do to make this look even cooler, and that's going to be the fade in and the fade out of the video. Looks pretty cool. All right, now there's one more thing you can do to make this look good. Remember, you have 5 seconds to play with and that animation is done. So go and select all of your layers. So hit the top layer and select all of the layers here. Go to composition, or go to layer, pre-compose, attributes into new composition. And you can do one of two things. If you have the Video Copilot presets, you can type in fade, and you can move down into film fade in. You can give it this cool fade in effect, which I personally like a lot. Or if you don't like that, you can delete all of this. Tint and levels, delete. Or you can just use the straight opacity filter, and that's always fun. Which, if you want to do that, you hit T, hit here under 0, you go hit the stopwatch and move it up to 1 second and turn it up to 100, which is easy. Does about the same effect, but if you do it with the Video Copilot effect, it looks a lot cooler because it looks more of that film fade in. You can do the fade in and the fade out. So to fade this out, you just hit this little thing here and then move it up to another second and then hit 0. Then you have this quick little animation, but you have this quick little small animation. Woo. But that about does it. And that is how you create this cool effect from Star Trek for the titles. Make sure to go online and check us out at Facebook, facebook.com/avidproductions479. Also check us out at facebook.com/tutorialgrid, and check us out on Twitter. So tweet us. Also subscribe to the youtube.com/tutorialgrid. Subscribe to us, please. And we will see you at the next tutorial.